Inside Publishing is a video series where we try to take you through the ins and outs of publishing. We're going to show you editing, graphic design, marketing. We'll give you a look into audiobook narration, printing, binding, and we'll even have a video on book restoration for books that are 100 years old and more. The goal of the series is to give you a look inside what goes into a story before it makes it onto the shelves, to give you Q&As as well as video footage showing everything to give you just a little bit closer inside look into publishing. But this entire series was made possible through our sponsor, Campfire. Campfire is a web-based writing tool that helps you to write better stories faster, but we'll talk more about them at the end of the video. So for this video, we went to Phoenix, Arizona to talk with Kimberly about book restoration.
Yeah, so I started in graphic design, and when I went with my graphic design class to tour the book bindery, we walked into the lab, which is what the place we worked at was called. We had our own little room that we just called the lab, and they pulled out some of the old books that they were working on, and immediately I just knew that's what I wanted to do. And I really liked doing letterpress and kind of a lot more of the old-fashioned style arts, but seeing those books and seeing that they could turn into something new again was really exciting. And when we finished our tour, I walked up to the lady, Christy, who was the customer service at the time, and was like, okay, I want to work here. I want to work in the lab if I can. And they really wanted young people to be able to train up on how to do it. So I got the job a couple days later. And then once they moved on from the restoration department, I took everything over and started it on my own as my own business. I've been doing book restoration for 2 years now. I trained with a woman who had been doing it for 15 previously, and then before her, a woman that had been doing it all her life, so it's been like a generational craft. So every book that comes in, I try to utilize as much of the cover and various pieces as possible. The book itself is coming to me because it's sentimental, and I want to preserve that heart and that love for that book with as many pieces as I can. Most of what I get is to work on our personal Bibles, so things that have a lot of notes, have a lot of papers and things that have been stored over time, or like a parent's personal Bible, or a husband's, like something that belonged to someone that also meant a lot to the person. Family Bibles with entire family histories, starting generally from like the 1800s till now, and a lot of childhood books that people grew up reading and fell to pieces because they read it a lot as a kid. Every customer that comes in for me to quote, they usually give me the entire life history of the book, pretty much starting from when purchased to either passed down or to however long they've had it. I had a book recently that was a pair of siblings' mother's Bible, and she had it for 50 years. And so usually when a client comes in, I prepare that it's going to be a decent amount of time that they'll tell me the full story. Yeah.
So after she told me about how she got started, I asked her to take us step by step through her process.
Yeah, so each book comes in with the client, and I examine it as gently as possible and look at what type of binding it has, because that will determine what I need to do, what type of covers, and then I ask them if they would prefer to have the new cover to save what I can of the original. And if it's new, then what stamping they want it. There's a whole lot of details as to specifics of what they want their book to look like at the end. Once I start work on the book, I take off the cover and get it all cleaned up as much as possible and basically break it apart and then begin the repair of putting it back together again with mending any tears, fixing any loose pages, whether by gluing it or sewing it. And then it goes to the vise and it gets all cleaned up and all shiny. And then I replace all of those pieces that used to be on there, but they'll be brand new and hopefully last for another 50 however years the book originally lasted. Once the book block, is what it's called, is done, then I work on the cover and I either make something brand new out of leather or similar material, or I piece together the original with some new pieces and some of the old.
Then I asked her how long the book that she worked on today would take her to restore and how far out she books her restorations.
That will take me probably 10 hours.
Okay.
A minimum book takes me 2 hours. If there's very little that needs to be done to the cover and they want everything as original as possible. With anything with a lot of repair can take me about 2 days. So I give about a week barrier for clients because you just never know what you're gonna find on the inside. I am currently at 6 months. So if someone were to come to me today, I would tell them that it will be another 6 months before I start on their book. Once I start, then they have a week for me to finish it. The oldest book I've restored is 1600s. It was an old German Bible, and the cover was still in decent shape, but it needed some page repairs, and then similar to the one I worked on here, it needed a new spine and we mounted the old spine back onto it.
Next, I asked her what goes into the evaluation before she takes on a book.
When the book comes in and I analyze what all needs to be done, I give the customer the price. There's generally a cover price that is based off of the material that I need to use on it or that they choose to be used on it. And then the pages in the book block itself have their own pricing. And that's generally a per hour basis, which isn't really an hour, it's just been termed an hour.
Right, sure.
And then there's a bit of customization in that. Some clients would rather pay less and have more tears in their pages. Some tears I just have to fix or else the page can't go back into the Bible or the book. If it's just torn straight through, then I need to at least get that back together. So some books have a certain basis, but other people will say like, okay, well I want to just do 2 hours worth of page mending, as much as you can get done, and I'll live with the rest of the damage or the warping or whatever.
Last, I asked her what her favorite unique project that she's worked on was.
My favorite oddball project would probably be the Cowhide Bible. I was dreading it the most out of all the books that I had to work on, solely because I had never worked with a cowhide that still had the hair on it. It was a cow from a nearby farm, and she was a cowgirl and her dad was a cowboy. It was his Bible that she wanted restored, but restored to match him and his legacy. So we did the cowhide cover, and then the bandanas were his when he was alive, so we used those as the end sheets, and then she had picked out some ribbons that matched, and those went in as well. And it very much looked like a Bible fit for a cowboy. Yeah. I think my favorite element is when it's all put back together, like the before and after aspect of it, because I can truly see what it looked like before, and getting to piece it back together and see the finished product. And I've had a couple of people cry when I give it back to them, and that always means a lot, that my work is something that they're gonna go and cherish for a long time. My name is Kim Miller, and I'm the owner of Phoenix Book Restoration, and we specialize in restoration and customization.
I had so much fun with Kimberly learning about book restoration. I know that this particular video doesn't fit into the series perfectly because we're talking about what goes into getting a book published, but this is just cool. I just really wanted to show you guys this because I loved it. And I think it's really neat to see what's on the other side of a book's lifespan when it's been used and loved and passed down for generations. How do we give it more life? I really think this is not only a fascinating process, but a really beautiful one. Plus, I made 2 new friends. I love Kim and Alec. Anyway, this is the final video of the series. I want to thank you guys so much for watching it with me. This project means a lot to me, and I was so excited to share it with you. This is probably the coolest thing that I've gotten to do on the channel, and for those of you that stuck with me and enjoyed this, I am so glad you did. Thanks for all your kind comments and support. This was kind of a passion project for me. This was something that I really wanted to do, and I'm so glad I did. But it wouldn't be a proper Inside Publishing video if we didn't also get one final check-in with Patricia. Hello, I am Patricia McRiderly, and over these last few weeks, I have attempted to teach you to write a strong book. Thank you for taking my writing course. It did, admittedly, go off the rails at times, but I read your comments. In fact, I read them all, and most of them were much like this one. Please, please, I'm begging you, just try Campfire. You're losing your mind. Oh, dear commenter, don't worry about me. I was, but don't worry. I have now tried Campfire. And now that I've been able to enter all of my information about the book, the character breakdown, my maps and travel, the relationships between characters, and all of my plot points, and it's all laid out there in front of me, not only have I filled the plot holes, but I've been able to take a nap. And I feel so much better now. So if you're watching this tutorial, dear aspiring author, the best advice that I could give to you is to get Campfire. It let me have a nap. I feel so much better now. Don't fill your walls with charts, fill your computer with them, and actually feel organized with Campfire. Campfire Blaze is a browser-based writing application with a full site of organizational tools that help you to write the stories you want to write. Its manuscript module will safely store your project in the cloud and allow you to quickly reference details from your story with auto-tagging. You can create your characters and connect how they interact with the other relationships, as well as keeping track of your world building, maps, locations, species, magic systems, cultures, and more. The timelines are also extremely flexible, which allows you to plan your stories in ways that work for you. Your stories are private, but it's easy to share them or even collaborate with others. Campfire Blaze also receives new features every month and is free to use for smaller projects. If you need more space, you only have to pay for the features you need for as little as 50 cents. And if you aren't satisfied, you can get your money back with their 30-day return policy. Write better stories faster with Campfire Blaze. Check out the link in the description to learn more. So this was the final episode of Inside Publishing. Thank you again for joining me on this video about book restoration and joining me for the series. I loved making it, and I'm glad that you guys have loved it too. So thank you again for joining me as we take a little bit closer look inside publishing.